Leadership development exists because none of us are perfect, fully realized people. We all have room for growth in our lives, and we need help along the way. Hi, and welcome to Developing Imperfect Leaders.
Because the last time I checked, we're not Jesus.
This podcast is a project of the Leadership Development Institute at Hope Community Church, intended to help you explore and grow your leadership skills for service both inside and outside the church. I'm your host, Paul Stiver, and I'm joined by my co-hosts and fellow LDI staff team members, Kaylin Larson.
Hello.
And Natty Severson.
Hello.
As a cold Busch Light. Just kidding. It's a Coke Zero.
It's a Coke Z protocol, as we like to call it here.
Yeah.
I hope the Coke Z my afternoon Coke Z.
Yeah, so delicious, so tasty. Thank you, Jesus, for Coke Zero. I think is probably appropriate. I don't know.
Kaylin doesn't drink it, but
so we're gonna get right into it. This is episode 9 of season 3. We are officially entrenched as podcasters, I would say, by now.
Yeah,
and
we've
yet
done
it
it.
feels like we're kind of always learning. But anyway, let's get into it with Would You Rather.
It's because
All right.
we are not perfect.
So
nice. Yeah.
the Would You Rather game has a pre-question. So the pre-question is, what do you think would be the scariest or most dangerous job? You don't have to agree. You just have to think of it. I'm going to give you 10 seconds, and while you guys think, I will ramble about something senseless. No, I'll tell you that my son actually had a kidney stone, and he called me because he was really sick on the ride up to he was driving up to school, and he got really, really sick. And then he called me, and I'm like, dude, you have to go to the ER. Where are you? And he's like, okay, I'm right outside this city. And I'm like, great, they should have an ER. And when he Googled it, I go, find it on your Google Maps. And he's like, okay. And when he goes, Mom, it's 2.3. And I go, 2.3 miles? And he goes, no, stars. He was very concerned about the level of stars for the emergency room. We actually Googled local emergency rooms. None are really that high of stars, just so you know. All right, so that gave you enough time to think?
Mm-hmm.
Most dangerous job, what would you say? Scariest, most dangerous job?
Personally?
Yeah.
Okay. I would not want to clean glass on the outside of very, very tall buildings.
Okay, so a skyscraper window cleaner.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, 2 or 3 stories, fine.
Right.
You're probably still in, scaffolding-ish, maybe? I don't know.
But the people who sit on, the swings and get lowered down.
Oh, my. I would,
okay, that'd be horrible. Okay, Paul, most dangerous, scariest job?
I didn't answer it personally. I was, because I'm so tough, and none of these would scare me.
Uh-huh.
No, I was thinking, I was waffling between a couple. That Deadliest Catch, kind of the Bering Sea fisherman.
Yeah, yep.
Or bull rider. Less mortality risk, but you're probably going to get some broken ribs.
You're going to leave that,
rodeo.
Leave that sport with some life-altering injury.
Yeah, broken bones.
Okay, so if you had to have a career as... Which one are you picking, Paul? Are you going with rodeo clown or Deadliest Catch?
Let's do rodeo clown. No,
rodeo cowboy.
Not a big fan of clowns in general. Is anyone? Anyway, all right. Never met a person that's like, I like them.
That's where this is going. You got to pick a...
I'm going to go... Thanks, Kay. That feels great. Very encouraging to get the move it along signal from Kay. I'm going to do fisherman.
Deadliest Catch fisherman. Okay, he's a crabber now. So would you rather have a 20-year career as that profession? So Kaylin, it would be a skyscraper window cleaner. Paul, it would be a Deadliest Catch crabber or a clown for 20 years. That's your career.
Yeah, I can answer while Kaylin makes that noise. That's her thinking noise, I think.
I mean, you can see why I accidentally said rodeo clown, right? Because I was merging them in my head, but... That
does make sense now. I would choose the fisherman.
Oh,
is that one dangerous?
They actually die quite often.
Have you not watched Deadliest Catch? You're literally on... most dangerous waters.
If you fall into the water, you will die within your muscles freeze up within 45 seconds.
Because cold, not
Boats
because
sink.
the fish are.
Oh
no, people get crushed by things.
You get thrown off the boat, giant anchors.
Okay.
And,
yeah.
Anyway,
crushed by crab
fisherman.
pots, stuff like that.
The money is decent, apparently, from the show. You don't work the whole year, but also I just don't want to wear clown makeup, and I'm not an extrovert in that sense. I feel like you need a little bit of
I think you could be a clown.
I would be so miserable. I don't like people generally. hypothetically.
What?
I'm kidding. I just wouldn't want to do. I don't like performing
Pull a
for
scarf
people
out of your
in
mouth
that
for 5
way.
minutes?
Yeah,
Kinda,
or
yeah,
like
yeah.
Is it like a
honk
clown
my
at birthday
nose.
parties or like at a circus?
It
No-
doesn't
no
matter. It's just clown.
details.
You're a career clown.
Also, what are you making as a clown? Any clowns out there? Email ldi@hopecc.com with your
How
salary.
about a birthday party? You could charge like $2,000.
That's what it would take. All right,
Just
Kaylin,
kidding.
you
I
have
would
to
choose
answer
a
this.
clown.
You're going to be the clown over the window.
I
What
don't
would
think
your
I could
name
go to
be?
work work every day thinking I'm gonna throw up. Like
As a clown?
no,
I'm just kidding.
that's-
What would your name be
As a clown, you probably just get thrown up on. Like
Yeah,
kids
that's
at
true.
circuses eating too much cotton candy, birthday
I
party
don't know.
kids.
I
Yeah.
mean, ultimately, I wouldn't choose either, but
You have to. That's the
I
game.
know,
You
I
chose
just
clown.
chose
It's too late. You're
clown.
going to have to be a clown.
I'm thinking of Cam in Modern Family. He made being a clown look fun.
Well, I assume people who are clowns love it. Like,
Yeah.
otherwise, why would you
Why would
go
you
through
do
all
it?
I
that
don't
work?
think you're making that choice.
Work.
Unless you
Like,
love it.
you have to love it to go through all that work to be a clown, just in both makeup and in just energy expended. So, all right, moving on.
I will
Wait,
clarify.
what would you do?
I didn't even actually think
Yeah.
of the answer to myself.
okay.
I didn't pick a
What if it was dangerous clown versus regular
What
clown?
if you had to
rodeo
be a
clown.
royal,
Rodeo clown.
a royal or a clown? Would you?
Like, I hate, I don't want to be a celebrity.
Nice.
One of the worst things for me would be a celebrity.
There we go.
Because people just will scrutinize everything you say and do. At
Can't
least in
believe
a
you said
clown.
that.
Okay,
Just kidding.
so at least if you were a clown, once you took the makeup off, people wouldn't know it was you. Like, you can't hide if you're just royal famous, right? I'd probably have to pick clown. Though, I would love the travel schedule of a royal. Like, they just go places.
Do you
Yeah.
think
So
they like it though?
they're probably sick of it. That's their whole life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right.
I pick royal, I guess, because I could travel.
It's
Yeah.
exciting.
Okay.
I will clarify. I don't hate people. The idea, I thought that was, when I didn't get a laugh, I was like, that did not come out maybe how I'd hoped.
We laughed. We looked
I-
at each other and laughed. We
I-
just didn't laugh out loud.
Just wouldn't like being a clown for people.
An entertainer.
And
Yeah.
yet.
And yet I can't, I know. The irony, the great irony of all
Ah,
ironies.
geez.
All right, let's get into the leading question. Today's leading question is here it is. Why should I learn what matters to the people I lead? So we're going to dive into this topic of currency and thinking about what matters to people that you are leading. And Natty's going to jump in here with just a quick definition of this idea of currency.
So I just took a big drink of my Coke Zero, and I'm afraid I'm gonna have one of those mouth gurgles
That'd be
right into
nice.
the mic. So
That'd be perfect.
one can hope, because then we could put it on like when Dan makes the commercials for our podcast. No, okay. So currency. So the initial question, let me repeat it. Why should I learn what matters to the people I lead? And we talk about this idea of currency. So when most people go to a job, we get paid a wage, right? And that's typically in a currency. Like now like at one point, probably your boss just handed you a stack of money and said, thanks for working. Now it comes in US dollars, probably electronically in most cases, to an account where it just exists as money, but it's still US currency, right? So in a sense, people get paid to do the things that they want to do, and it encourages them to continue doing it. Well, volunteers also have a currency, meaning a way of getting paid. And I don't mean that in like a self-serving, self-indulgent way, like we have to pay volunteers to get something, because the idea of volunteerism is exactly that. You're not getting paid, and you might do something for a certain amount of time that didn't have a lot of like what we would say would be like extrinsic things. You're not getting a lot of money, maybe you're not getting things out of the deal, but there would be other intrinsics involved with that. And so their currency might be knowing they're making a difference, or maybe they just love the team they're working with, even though it's really hard, and maybe even it costs them money, because lots of people like frankly pay money. Volunteering costs them money. They donate to maybe the cause they're volunteering for. They're willing to give that because in some sense it's giving them a currency. And I don't mean that to become like to make volunteerism like this transactional thing. Like we need to like develop a transactional attitude about it. But what we can do is understand what's important to our volunteers.
Yeah, that's really good. So examples would be, I'm thinking of personal, like when I'm volunteering, a currency for me is like appreciation. Just like hearing like, hey, I saw you did that. Thanks for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
One I've observed in people often, is if they were blessed by something, they like to give back to it. That's like a currency for them. So like, oh, I was in youth group and I really had a mentor in youth group that blessed me. So I kind of want to be a youth group mentor, or that's kind of in the church, but there's a number of those kind of lane where you were blessed by something. What are other examples? Maybe
So that would
of
be like
currency?
seeing the impact. You
Yeah,
can
kinda
really
impact,
see the
yep.
impact of that. Yep.
I think of like fun.
Mhm.
Like, is this an enjoyable experience, or do I feel stressed while I'm there and volunteering? Do I enjoy the people that I'm with, which probably kind of plays into fun as well. But it's always fun or enjoyable to volunteer with people that you want to be with.
Yeah, I think for me, that fun would be up there as like a, man, I'm really enjoying doing this, or impact, because I don't need something to be fun to continue to do it, but
Yeah.
the fun is really a big deal, but I need to be able to see the impact of what's happening. And then also my currency is just like my time is used well. I don't know how else to explain that. Some of my most frustrating volunteer experiences are when I show up, like, I'm going to etch out my half my day or a whole day to like volunteer for this particular thing. And then I show up and then I stand around for an hour.
Yeah, like unorganized.
And then I do something for half an hour and then they want me to stand around for an hour. Or maybe they needed 5 volunteers, but they have 20, but we can't make it go faster by having 20 people. So I think those are some of I like my time to be used
I would
well.
agree with that, yeah.
So I'm kind of sensitive to that with things I lead too. So
Yeah. So now that we've kind of discussed the idea of currency, why should I learn what matters to the people I lead?
We're going to talk about a book in our quote of the week, but I hadn't thought about the concept of currency or like why it matters until I read the book. And it really helped me just gain an understanding of how to better care for the people that I'm leading or the volunteers that I'm overseeing. And it also allowed like a deeper relationship to form with those people because they then were feeling seen and known. And then I in turn learned how to support them in ways that would bless them in the work that they're doing.
So like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Let's say you meet someone in the natty lane where they just want to know their time's being used well. So you as a volunteer leader are coordinating their schedule, helping them know when they're supposed to be there, what's expected of them. And then so they show up, they know what to do, when it's expected, and they just have a lot of clarity on that. You're kind of serving them in that way. And then they're actually blessed by, that was the thing for them, that they just wanted to feel like their time was used well. And you gave that to them versus being disorganized, not really having clarity on what they needed. That's really good. I like that idea.
I think for me, it's you hit it spot on. It's awareness of what communicates love and care to them. But I would maybe not phrase it differently, but to put it another way, we are all inherently selfish, right? And so I am going to view the value of a situation through Natty's lens if I don't stop and take a look at anybody else. We just tend to get in our own head. And it's not that the things that are important to me in an experience aren't important, because they are, but they're of equal value of importance to other people around me who are going to think about those things differently. So then I would take the time to pause and think, okay, what would Kaylin need in this experience? What would Paul need in this experience? Then I'm going to think more robustly, and I'm going to be more considerate of the needs of a broad range of people.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's just kind of that, again, the idea, we've talked about it different times in the episode or on the episodes, but is leadership, is it about you or is it about other people? And are you demanding of them or serving them? I really like that. So let's get into then the quote of the week here. And so as mentioned, we're using a book. Actually, Natty uses this book in her ministerial leadership class as a part of the LDI program here. It is called The Volunteer Project. And I think the subtitle, if I can nail this, shows how great of a student I was of Natty, is Stop Recruiting, Start Retaining.
Yep.
Oh, so we're going to solve it. But again, we're just thinking not necessarily only about volunteering, whether you're in the business setting leading people or just in your life leading people. Again, it's how do you think about what matters to them? But here's the quote. Researchers refer to the use of one's own skills and abilities to make a difference as participation efficacy. Volunteers have a belief that participation in your program will bring about a meaningful result. It is important that as leaders we understand that nearly every volunteer arrives with an unstated psychological contract expecting their participation to result in a positive and meaningful outcome for others. So kind of lot there, but what do we make of this quote? Just kicking it off here.
The unstated expectation part of the quote is really what stood out to me. I think volunteer, whether they know it or not, they do have an expectation of what the experience is going to be like. Maybe like based on past experiences serving with that organization or just other organizations. So they might be thinking, what am I going to gain or receive from this experience? Similar to what Natty was saying, we all kind of like have a selfish mindset of like, what is in this for me, even though we don't want to admit that at times. And so I think this quote just reminds us that it is important for us then as leaders to know what might those unstated expectations be, so then we can either help to clarify with the people that are volunteering, hey, this is actually what it's going to look like. So then they have healthy expectations when coming into the experience, or it's even like being able to forecast what their expectations might be so then we can meet them in those expectations.
Yeah, totally. And this when you marry that term that you just talked about and this participation efficacy, and then the phrase they use, let me read it again, is unstated psychological contract. Like, I need some relative psychological assurance in the form of a contract that's pretty thick language that what I'm doing actually makes a difference in the lives of other people. And that can be difficult in some volunteer situations because maybe there's a long game, your impact might not be seen, or it's a very behind the scenes role and you might not have that front seat look at the impact of that thing. Maybe you're doing something unglamorous like mopping floors after an event or something like that. It's not glamorous, but if you don't know that the next time that event happens, the next time a group of people come in there to be served, the floor's not sticky and their kid could like be set down and actually sit there and it's not gross and disgusting, that makes a difference between, making someone feel cared for and not. So unless you understand why you're mopping a floor in the middle of the night or something after an event, you wouldn't necessarily want to continue to do that.
Yeah, that brings up the idea of communication and vision, and even with the smaller tasks of mopping a floor, giving someone something to understand, to grab onto why they might, or how the impact of that is going to actually play out. That's really good.
I think of something like I pick mopping on floors because it's high physical labor late at night. Like not
it's like after the event. After the event,
so you're not seating. You're not seeing the impact. You'd rather be home. I don't like to put out energy. Well, in general, but especially early in the day or late at night. So, yeah.
I was thinking about the quote and how it's directed at volunteers, but I think it applies to employees as well, especially more and more.
Yeah.
Like, I think I'm a millennial, and our generation is typically known for wanting to connect to their work and life to a grander purpose or some kind of cause and make an impact in a bigger picture. I think Gen Z would similarly follow suit, although their focus might be more on an individual person or on an individual level than like this grandiose life change that millennials
are
bring about.
The Tom's culture, right? That's love your melon, right? The give backs.
Even
my major
product
scale
that I buy has to make a difference.
Yeah.
Yep. As opposed to just being a good product and a business selling it. Yeah, that's really good. So I think with employees then, that idea as a leader, are you even thinking through like, yes, I know there's kind of the stated contract of you come and you work for me and earn dollars, right? US dollars. But like, I don't know why that made me laugh, but but there's also is this, like, I still want to see impact. I want to get something out of it. And as leaders, being able to communicate and give away vision and show, like, here's why this is actually making an impact, whether you're in the church setting and kind of connecting it to a spiritual impact, or you're just in the business setting and you're saying, here's ways that what you're doing is impacting our business. It's impacting even the world, right? A lot of businesses now, their vision statement is more world impact focused. And I think that fits in this currency idea. Oh, and I did have one question, and it's not, we don't need to answer it, but I thought it was intriguing. Could our volunteers or people we lead state a meaningful result? Be a good evaluative question of like, am I giving away enough communication? Could they actually say, yeah, this is the impact of what I'm doing?
Yeah.
That'd be kind of a cool.
If they were leaving the experience and you asked them what impact, what difference was made by this, could they? That's great.
Yeah. So like, what difference was made by you mopping? Oh, it was actually this. So another question under this quote is why is this idea of currency, and again, of knowing what the people you lead value, what matters to them, why is it so important in volunteer and non-volunteer settings?
You know, I think we mentioned it earlier, but it is a way to bless other people. It's showing them it's specifically, we would say in the church, you would use the language, what God is up to, but also in spheres that aren't specifically churchy, what God is up to, because God's still just as active in your workplace as he is in the church. It just, it points people in a direction that offers meaning to what they're trying to experience. And ultimately, God wired us to be people who crave meaning. We want to be connected with our Creator. We want to have meaningful work, right? Like Adam in the garden had meaningful work. Adam and Eve were giving meaningful roles in the garden. And so people are created for that. We have that kind of itch to understand that. So knowing that is actually quite important to us, I think, on just down to almost a creation level.
I think it displays I see you. I want to appreciate you in ways that you might not have anticipated. And it can display a level of leadership that isn't widely talked about or shown, at least nothing that I've experienced. I don't know if you guys have experienced that like outside of the church. And I think it also shows like I'm with you in this versus I'm leading over you in this. Because to show appreciation, to show the idea of like I see you or I can kind of anticipate what your expectations are, I think you need to be with the volunteers because then you're kind of learning what their needs might be.
Yeah, it's wild too. In the work setting, typically when you're experiencing that kind of care, it makes you want to stick longer at that job. Like if you know you're being considered and thought of by your manager, and they're putting things forward that match with who you are, what you're passionate about, that's kind of a wild thing that connects with job duration or, kind of longevity. And then the only other thing I thought about with the church specifically, it's really cool to like be in a leadership position and identify people's spiritual gifts and then kind of encourage and free them to use them. That's another great way. And again, it's all that, Kaylin, you're really hitting on is that servant mentality. Even though you're in leadership, actually you're leading by serving, by considering the other person.
I loved what you said there about the gift fit. I like to call it the gift fit. I didn't coin that. I heard that somewhere. Can't tell you where, but considering someone's gift fit, you're going to feel more useful. And obviously the Holy Spirit has gifted us and God created us uniquely. I have different gift sets and we talk about that here on the show. And it's just great to do that. But also just, oh man, Paul, you said something right before the gift fit that I was going to comment on. Oh, the longevity piece. It's this idea that people are way more effective over time in their jobs. So the same would be true of a volunteer. The longer you do something, just the more effective you are. Probably I couldn't have handled getting my workload in my job the first year I worked here. Like I would have crushed under the weight of the role, but now I don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. Things feel more familiar. And so as you're in the job, you become a more effective worker for that cause or that job. And so keeping volunteers, maintaining volunteers, one, because we're showing that they're a gift to us, and two, it's just efficient.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to cut everything to come down to this belief that we believe that the church and volunteerism is transactional in and of itself, but it is important. So, sorry, thanks.
I'm going to, just 2 seconds. I had an intrusive thought, but do you think that the person that invented the wheel, like, did they ever have to reinvent it? And they're like, can't believe I'm reinventing the wheel here.
The wheel.
I think that was, all right. Let's get into the growing together.
Can you imagine being the person who invented the wheel?
Yeah, it was John Wheel, or was it Rebecca Wheel? I can't remember.
Wheeler, probably.
It was somebody
Wheeler.
with the last name of Wheel.
Wait, do you know this for a fact?
No, I just...
Oh.
Are you serious with that question?
There was a moment.
Do you really think the person who invented the wheel even spoke English?
It's just a running
Wheel
gag.
could be a last name. I don't know. A lot of
It's an
things are
English
named
word.
after.
It's an
A
English
lot
word.
of things are named after what was made.
It's just a running gag. I think it's a
It's
joke I
not-
picked up somewhere of like,
that's
you know
so
who
awesome.
invented the movie theater? John Movie Theater, right?
John,
like it's not.
yeah.
Anyway,
You just throwing a Mick movie theater there.
I will not disparage
John
you, Kaylin,
McMovie
for your
Theater.
question. Yeah.
That was awesome.
All right, let's grow together. So what are some practical
that was a horrible
ways
noise. I just
that an imperfect leader can grow in understanding currency? Namely, how can we grow in understanding what people value and then offering it back to them in different ways?
the first thing that came out to me, we were just actually talking about this in class. I just taught this class like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And one of the things that occurs to me every time I teach, this class is a very hard class to teach because I think it forces me to examine my own leadership skills. It's ministerial leadership. So I have to take a step back. Unless I was totally a heartless, like it doesn't actually matter. I have to evaluate it. And one of the things that was most important to me was, have I taken a chance? Have I really stepped back and on an individual level asked what matters to different people I lead? Because I can get a sense of, after so many years working with volunteers and leaders in a church, I get a sense of what the important categories are, but have I really stopped? Do I really know what Paul needs? Do I really know what Kaylin needs? Do I really know what that small group leader needs? And so just the importance of that coming down to an individual level at some point. Now, I would say approximately 170 small group leaders at Hope at this point, something like that. I can't, as one leader, possibly know the needs of 170 people on an individual level. But as the small groups ministry grew way back, as when Hope was growing, we decided we needed a layer of small group coaches, right? So that they would have a closer relationship, have a more intimate knowledge of what was happening in certain small groups and with certain leaders. And so those coaches can know more specifically what's of value to the people that they're leading. And have I asked coaches, I was like, do we need to circle back and have coaches really figure that out? Is that something we need to do at the next coaches workshop? Because I couldn't even tell you probably and this is honest moment, challenged by this. Yeah. I don't think I could tell you what is the biggest value for a coach. I know impact must be because we're picking certain kinds of people to coach small group leaders. So we're really picking those shepherd-hearted people who really want to walk beside other people. In the same sense of that's what a small group leader would be. But I was challenged by the fact that I have not thought about this on an individual level with people in a while. And I probably need to get off my throne and do that. So
something I've implemented in areas that I lead is I specifically have thought of hospitality. I would send out a survey to the regular volunteers just to get a pulse on the ministry or the areas that they're serving in to better then understand what would be helpful for them. Is there anything that they feel is missing in the kitchen?
Donuts.
Well, yes.
I would lead every week if I knew I was going to get a good donut.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's currency.
Or do you want new knives for bagel cutting? Just those small things.
Those knives were bad, and I bought those knives. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Creating a space for volunteers to know each other and deepen relationships also came to mind because if you are enjoying the team that you are serving with, you want to come and serve. And then something that I tried to do specifically with hospitality was serve alongside them so then I could maybe see what unknown expectations might be
that's good.
at play.
Try
so that
stay in their shoes.
Yeah, so that I could just learn their environment and then better anticipate their needs. And so those are 3 things that came to mind.
I love that, day in your shoes. I mean, I love all of what you said.
It reminded me of The Job. What's the undercover boss?
Oh, yeah.
Of
if you can, we should try that once. I could dress up like a 75-year-old or something like that. Just well, you'd have to be older than that. I'm probably too close to that now to be like, hey, Natty, dang it.
Yeah, right. Instantly figure it out.
Come on.
This person here.
Gray hair doesn't really change the way you look. Sorry. Just
to add to what you guys said, and Kay, I love it. You were thinking more kind of groups and teams. I went a little more individual. With individuals you're leading, whether you're a manager or in a volunteer setting, learning their stories. And kind of listening to as they share what they're valuing, what's impacting them. and kind of what they're holding is meaningful. And then other things like meeting regularly. A lot of people really like connection and kind of check-in time things. And then learning gifts and strengths. I think we've talked about it a bunch, but people really do feel blessed when you understand them on an individual level, what they value and who they are, how they're wired. And you really can then set them free to see, here's what you're doing and the impact it's having, which again is just another encouragement, whether you're an employee or a volunteer, to kind of keep going and to keep growing. Well, that wraps up our conversation for today, but we want to keep connecting with you. So thank you for listening to the podcast. And if you like what you heard, be sure to follow our show and leave a review. We love connecting with our listeners. So if you have questions, comments, or topic ideas, please email us ldi@hopecc.com. LDI is a ministry of Hope Community Church based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We seek to develop leaders in their biblical thinking, Christ-like character, and ministry skills for service both inside and outside the church. We do this through internships, classes, seminars, and retreats. If you're interested in learning more about our internships or other opportunities, visit ldi.hopecc.com or email ldi@hopecc.com. Have a great week.